Hello everyone, it's me, some guy sitting on a bed. I've been held in captivity in this room for several months with nothing but flies to consume. It's been pretty bad, but hey, luckily whoever's holding me here has been getting me all the latest movies for me to watch and enjoy. And I'm feeling pretty bored, so I guess I'm gonna talk about them since I managed to build this camera out of what was left of my hopes and dreams. Okay, let's go! Okay, so the first movie I want to talk about is probably the worst. I don't know about that for sure, but oh my god, Action Point, what a dumpster fire. And you know, I think that's a really apt comparison because you know, you see a dumpster fire in the real world and you're like, oh my god, that's bad, but then you get closer to it and then the smell comes in and you start to realize how much worse life can get. Now, I didn't necessarily think this would be a good movie, but I was kind of interested in it because I've always been interested in this story. And for those of you who don't know this story, a long time ago, in a mythical land, the mythical faraway land of New Jersey, there was this place called Action Park where they built horribly unsafe rides like these. Come on, you're telling me you don't want to see the story that created these monstrosities? But I wasn't thrilled about Johnny Knoxville turning it into a Jackass-style affair, but after seeing it, that's a pretty big insult to Jackass. The stunts aren't impressive, the story is boring, it's not funny at all, I don't even think Knoxville was trying, and you can really tell. Don't see it. What am I talking about? You already didn't see it. I was the only one in the theater when I saw this. There's not a lot to the movie, so there's really not a lot to say. It's just kind of a bad comedy, so I'd say skip it. I'm gonna forego doing my normal rating system and just hold off to the end where I'm gonna like rank all the movies on the list and just like put my individual scores for them there. Does that sound good? Because I mean, I guess it does, because I already made the video, you're already watching it. Oops. That being said, let's move on to something great.
It's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. I know my mom would be very touched and probably a little suspicious.
That's right, it's time to talk about Hereditary, the most divisive horror movie since whatever the last actually good horror movie was. Yeah, I'm firmly on the loved it side for this one because, oh my god, this movie was something else. I'm gonna be doing a full video on this down the line for a new series I want to try out on the channel, so I'm gonna save most of my gushing for that video, but I'll just briefly explain a little bit about why I love this movie so much. Why did I write gushing? I love well-crafted horror, and save for some technical slip-ups that appear on repeat viewings, the form in this movie is flawless. From the very first frame, from the very first little bit of text that you see on screen that isn't like one of the million production logos, like the first actual part of the movie, like, I knew this was going to be something magical, a wonderful experience, a tour de force of horror, The performances are all really great too. Toni Collette is the obvious highlight, but both Gabriel Byrne and Alex Wolff put in solid work as well. Even if Alex Wolff's crying does get a little grating after a while, still everyone does a great job. Oh, and Millie Shapiro makes an interesting debut as a creepy horror girl. The direction and tone of this movie is a little bit unpredictable, and it kind of made me very uncomfortable around the middle part. So uncomfortable, in fact, that I thought I might actually have to step out for a bit, and that's not a feeling I've ever had before. I mean, you know, like for a good movie. I'm glad I ended up staying because this ended up being one of the best films I've seen so far this year, and probably one of the better horror films I've seen in maybe the past 10 years. There's some weird dubbing issues and some wonky CGI for a few smaller things, but overall, I can't find that many faults with the movie. I just really, really loved it, and I can't recommend it highly enough if you like being uncomfortable for 2 hours. Everything leading up to that final 20 minutes or so is just this, like, ramping up of tension, and then just like a light switch, things just go apeshit crazy, and I've heard a lot of people didn't really like that, but personally, I loved it. I'm trying not to get into spoilers, because like I said, I'm going to do another video later on down the line, but and now I'm just rambling, but it's a really good movie, and I really recommend it. So great job, Ari Aster, you made a great movie. I still haven't forgiven you for creating Strange Thing About the Johnsons, though. To anybody who's seen that, you know my pain. Anyway, let's get wholesome.
A television program for children made its unauspicious debut on station WQED in Pittsburgh. Its host, Fred Rogers.
I don't think I'm appropriately dressed for this one. There we go. Won't You Be My Neighbor made me tear up. There's honestly not much more to say about it than that. It's just a really touching little look into a man who sought to make the world a kinder place. And in the nightmare hellscape the world has slid into, it warmed my cold, dead heart. This actually caused a massive medical issue. I don't have much longer to live. It's an incredibly well-made documentary that really hits you in the feels as it goes along. It's a bit of a slow build. It's a very patient documentary that really takes its time, but I can honestly say I was never bored during it, which is a lot more than I could say for some other documentaries.
And then I saw, over on the left, I see the skiing poster. And the thing is that you already have Jack. He's already asked about skiing. Well, why isn't, what about skiing? Isn't the skiing good here in the hotel? And he's already given the story of why it isn't good. Fucking Bronco. They can't do that. So you've got a kind of echo there. So you've got on one side there. The bull man. That's a myth. It howls out at. And so that was something that I was able to tell.
Yeah, I really liked it. I don't normally get hooked in documentaries the way I do in narrative, so when I find one that I really, really enjoy, it makes me very happy. I feel like less of an uncultured swine. And this was just the burst of joy I needed in my summer. Between working in the mines. If this sounds like your thing, then go check it out. Now let's move on to disappointment. Next!
Did you wash your hands? With soap? Did you dry them?
Okay, I can't keep wearing this. I guess it's time to talk about The Incredibles 2. Now, I was just a wee little 46-year-old man when the first Incredibles came out, so I was the perfect age to get wrapped up in it. And I recently went back and rewatched it, and it holds up for the most part. Though the animation is dated a little poorly in some scenes, it still holds together really well. Prior to Up, I'd say that was probably my favorite out of any of the Disney Pixar films, and then, Up came out. It was like, oh, my tears, have all of them in the first 10 minutes. So after all these years of waiting for a sequel and seeing so many other worse properties getting there first, like come on, Cars? We needed a Cars sequel before The Incredibles? Okay. But now we finally got the sequel that we waited all these years for, and was it worth the wait?
No! No! No!
Okay, so let's start with what I liked. Overall, the animation is a big improvement. There's a lot more sense of detail, and those great Brad Bird designs really shine through. All the voice acting is also very good, though it is noticeable that more years have passed in the real world between these stories than in the movies world. Voices age too, guys. There's plenty of great little action moments and comedy beats that kept me pretty entertained throughout, and there's a lot more screen time for the best character in the franchise, Frozone.
I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane!
But overall, I was just kind of let down because I was just expecting something more interesting for a sequel. I was never thrilled about the idea of it picking up right where the other movie left off, and the movie never did anything throughout the runtime to convince me that was a better idea than maybe skipping forward a few years and seeing the kids grow up or something. They also do that thing a lot of sequels do, where they simplify characters down to a certain aspect of their character from the first film, and this leads to certain scenes with Dash and Mr. Incredible making them feel really unlikable. Luckily, the main hook with Elastigirl is interesting enough, but it gets weighed down by the single biggest letdown of this entire movie: the villain. The character's gimmick is pretty cool, but they try to do this pull the rug out from under you style twist, and it's just so obvious from the moment they set it up. I know I really shouldn't be complaining that I saw a twist coming in a children's movie, but I don't think that definition excludes it from being able to do this type of thing well. And I'd be a lot more forgiving if the villain was even half as interesting or engaging as the last villain. Like, Syndrome was so cool and memorable, guys.
Oh, this is just too good!
But I find it hard to remember anything about this chump other than a fight in an airplane cockpit that was kind of cool. Listen, this is already gonna be a long-ass video anyway, so I'll keep it short and say I probably had too high of expectations because Brad Bird was back, and I mean, I'd slept through all of Tomorrowland, so I'll just assume it was really good. But I still think that even if I went into this with more muted expectations, that I would have had the same issues with it. Not terrible, but not quite the first film or even other Pixar fare. Next!
Susan, you take Jerry to be your husband.
What's the difference between Episcopalian and Lutheran?
Episcopalians don't eat fish.
That's pescatarian. That's not a religion.
They're all fanatics. I don't know.
Tag! You guys ready? You ready for Tag? I don't have a lot to say about this one either. You'd think a movie with this many funny people in it would be a lot more hilarious, but nah. There's a few really good laughs and a pretty dope soundtrack I didn't see coming, but this cast list and material is just like golden. It should be so much better, and the end product is just... meh. I don't know. I'm glad I saw it, but I don't think I'll be revisiting it anytime soon. Next!
She's tranked. Okay, come on.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Ooh, here we go, baby. It's time for some hot trash.
Frank, what the hell are you doing, man?
That's my character. I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
Jurassic World 2, baby! What's it called? I already forgot. Fallout 76. So this wasn't a movie I was looking forward to necessarily, because the trailers made it look kinda dumb. I mean, all the Jurassic Park movies have a few goofy elements, but this one looked like it was from some meeting where a bunch of panicked CEOs were running around going, "Oh my god, how can we milk this franchise some more?" And some crazy shit just shouted out, "Dinosaurs gotta fight a volcano." Like, come on, that first trailer made it look pretty dumb, right? But luckily, now the movie is out, and we can see that, oh my god, it's worse than we could have ever thought. There's enough in this movie to fill a whole bad movie touch, so I'll keep it short just in case, but let me just say that nothing anybody does makes any sense. Everybody's constantly changing their motivations and actions just based on what needs to happen in the plot, and the plot reads like it was scribbled down by some high schooler for a competition to write in a young adult novel series that no one remembers anymore. I'm gonna have a heart attack if I keep talking about this movie. There's some pretty bad entries in the Jurassic Park series, but I think this one takes the cake. I mean, at least until the next one comes out. Now, there's a lot of bad stuff in Jurassic World. Why do I own you? But holy shit, compared to Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World is a deathly serious film steeped in only the most potent realism. There's a dinosaur auction in this movie where cartoon supervillains are just bidding on dinosaurs for less than it costs to make this movie. What? Why is this what you guys are doing? Don't you have like a family to tie to train tracks somewhere? No, you can't do that. You gotta build a gun that tells a raptor to attack somebody. Just use a gun. Like, a gun's not just randomly going to decide to eat you. I also find it hilarious that Bryce Dallas Howard's character in this one is like the animal activist, and she's like, "Oh, dinosaurs should be free and should live amongst the man. I'm an adult and these are the thoughts I have." But at the last minute she's like, "Psych, nah, I'm not actually gonna do it, don't worry." But then the stupidest thing ever happens. Oh my god, I'm just gonna go off on a rant if I don't stop soon. So should you watch Jurassic World 2? I don't know. Do you think it's possible for human beings to live alongside giant genetic monsters that have a tendency to eat human beings? Because if so, this movie's gonna be your fucking shit. If not, skip it. Next!
I know who you are. You're the attorney whose family they killed.
Not they.
My father.
Sicario 2, Day of the Soldado. It's the movie. Okay, so I really like the first Sicario. It's nowhere near my favorite Denis Villeneuve film, but it's a really engaging little tale and it looks fantastic. I wasn't sure how to feel about a sequel that didn't have him involved, but I gave it the benefit of the doubt because I saw it was the same writer. But I guess it turns out that if you had Sicario's script with a worse director, you would have had a worse movie. The performances are all standout, just like the last movie, but the entire time I found myself unable to get that involved in what was going on. But maybe that was just me being distracted by the shift from a well-shot and well-paced action thriller to this generic shooty, oh look at how cool Benicio del Toro is type thing. It's whatever, it's boring. If you like the first Sicario, then check it out for curiosity's sake, but if it doesn't hook you at first, it's probably not going to as time goes on. Yes, much like the last entry on this list, the first one was better. That means that the first Incredibles was better than this movie, Sicario 2. I know it's a really weird way to rate things, but hey, what are you gonna do? Moving on, next!
Tonight allows people a release for all the hatred and violence that they keep up inside them.
So the Purge movies are weird for me. They had this really great setup and then they wasted it on a generic-ass home invasion movie. honestly, what a waste. But then in the next movie, they're like, oh, shit, let's make it cool. And they did, and maybe that's why that's still the best one out of the series. And then 3 was pretty decent too, but I think it's already aged a bit with what they were alluding to in the real world. Let's just say the Purge movies were a little too optimistic about reason prevailing in the modern age. So now we have the First Purge, and how does it stack up? Well, I'd say it's probably the second best entry in the franchise. It's interesting to see how everything in this universe came to be, and I really like the approach they went with because it helps fill in a lot of gaps in the franchise logic. Mainly, how the hell did this tradition even get started? Who was just like, okay, I guess we'll just start murdering my son's boss at Starbucks, might as well, right? The way they go about setting this up and explaining it really helps to fill in the gaps and build up a lore, and I was more of a universe for this movie series. And I guess now it's on TV too. I haven't watched it. I don't want to pay for USA. I don't want to pay for cable. I don't think the characters were really that engaging, and the social commentary does come across very ham-fisted several times, but that's been something present in the franchise since at least the last movie, so I guess it's just a series thing. It's probably the most ambitious movie in the Purge franchise, and that makes me wish I liked it a bit more than I did, but I think they actually do a lot of daring things with this, and I really enjoyed that. It's a Purge movie, what do you want? People go crazy and murder each other. If you like the other ones, you'll probably like this one. But it's nice that something this widely consumed is still attempting to tackle topics like this. It's nice to have stuff under the surface, you know? Hey, go check it out if you want to see blood all over the screen for an hour and a half or 2 hours. I don't remember how long it was. Go, next!
So, how long have you been Ant-Man again?
Not long. It just sort of happened.
AntMan The Wasp was fine. Next! Okay, I really did want to leave it there since I'm always talking about this Marvel stuff on this show specifically, and also the last Bad Movie Touch was Marvel themed, and the next 2 are going to be Marvel themed, by the way, so I didn't want to just like keep talking about the same thing, but really, I don't think there's that much to this one. I was interested in the direction Peyton Reed would take this movie now that he got to create an Ant-Man movie from scratch, unlike the first movie, which was largely worked on by Edgar Wright for most of the production. Turns out he makes something perfectly fine. So what's good about this movie? Well, Paul Rudd is at his most Paul Rudd, and it's great. Evangeline Lilly is a great co-lead as the Wasp. Michael Douglas is great at being a grumpy old man, and Hannah John Kamen is a good villain. At least until they kind of wimp out at her at the end. Plus, like all the Marvel movies, it's got some pretty good and innovative action mixed with plenty of quippy quips. I would have to say that this is worse than the last one because it doesn't really have the sense of focus or urgency that one did, and they really do cop out with the villain at the end there. And as a matter of fact, that's what I'm remembering most about the movie. Oh no, wait, the after credit scenes were great. Cassie Lang is adorable. Randall Park is great, and yeah, nope, that's it. You see, there isn't a lot to this one. It's just kind of a fun little ride, so it's very easy to just sort of forget what happens in it. If you're down with all this Marvel stuff and this sounds like your thing, then go ahead and check it out, but I don't think this is going to be the movie to turn a Marvel naysayer into a fan, necessarily. Check it out, do whatever you want, I'll go be hanging out with ants.
Ants. Ant-Man.
Next!
Man, I'm just out here surviving. And what I'm doing right now won't even matter.
Oh, baby, it will always matter. But you said you fixed that.
Get a room! I got a room, mother...
Sorry to Bother You is fucking fantastic. I really just want to leave it at that, but don't worry, YouTube audience. I'll take you on a deep dive into this movie, or at least a dive. Maybe not so deep. I'm not a good swimmer without my floaties. So this is the directorial debut of Boots Riley, who is an activist, and he's also in The Coup, who many of you may remember from this wonderful scene in Superbad.
Don't trust the police, no justice, no peace. They got me face down in the middle of the...
So you know he makes some pretty great music, but turns out he's pretty great at making movies too. Who knew? So this is the story of a character played by Lakeith Stanfeild, who has to get a job at a call center, and in order to keep people on the line, he has to start using a white voice, who is played by David Cross. Yeah, it's great. The story's actually based off Riley's real-life time working at a call center and having to do this type of thing. But it has a lot of surrealistic touches that separate it from reality. Seriously, the look and presentation of this movie are some of its best assets. Featuring smooth cinematography and editing and a banging soundtrack by the Coup and a few others like Janelle Monáe, this movie's a really good time. The performances are all great, with the standouts being Stanfeild, Tessa Thompson, and Armie Hammer. Everybody fits their characters really well, and the comedic timing they were able to bring is just perfection. This movie had me laughing hysterically pretty frequently. The ramping up of the surreal elements and the comedy and the social commentary they were able to draw from that was just amazing. I'm honestly hard-pressed to think of something I didn't like in this movie. I guess it feels a little long, but the final third is just sheer hilarity, and I would not trade anything in the build-up to get there. If you can't tell, I really enjoyed it. Definitely one of the best movies I've seen all year, so go check it out. Next! Don't worry guys, this journey's almost over. I don't even know how long this is gonna be. I'm probably trimming a lot of this out, dear Lord.
Your mission. Should you choose to accept it? I wonder, did you ever choose not to?
And now it's time for the latest installment of Tom Cruise Tries to Kill Himself to Get Away from the Church of Scientology. Mission Impossible Fallout is without a doubt one of the most frenetic action movies I have ever seen, and I was totally on board for all of it. How awesome is this movie, you ask? Well, Henry Cavill's in it, and it isn't fucking terrible. I know, it's a miracle. And he even has a sweet mustache that cost Warner Brothers millions of dollars. I really can't think of much to complain about. The whole setup of this movie is, hey, let's keep hopping to the next awesome action scene. Everything just exists to get us to these really cool things, and that would be bad if these action scenes weren't amazing and incredible to behold and instantly rewatchable. See, basing your action movie primarily around action isn't a bad thing, but if your action looks like this, then it's probably not going to be a very good movie, because the thing that's supporting it is shit. But if the action is amazing and cool, like this,
altitude 25,000 feet.
then I'm fine with it. They did that. They really did that. You could not pay me enough money to jump out of an airplane backwards, but Tom Cruise is just all for that stuff. Hey, Tom, this will probably kill you. Let's go. I'm ready to get off the ride. Hell, that's not even the stunt that got him really hurt on this set, but that shot is in the movie, and my entire body squirms into another dimension when I see it. A dimension where Tom Cruise didn't just obliterate his leg bones. It's a very action-heavy movie, and the action is really amazing. If that sounds like it's something you'd be interested in, if this looks like something you probably have a fun time with, then you probably will. So I'd say go check it out. And check it out on a big screen if you still can, because some of these scenes on a huge screen are just...
What should happen if you forget about me?
Silly old bear. I won't ever forget about you, Pooh. I promise. Not even when I'm 100.
Hey, have you seen Hook? Did you think it would be better with Winnie the Pooh characters instead of Peter Pan characters? Did you also think it would be better if it had a color palette that makes it look like a film about the Holocaust? Well then Christopher Robin is the movie for you! Also, is there a word for what's wrong with you, or... Yes, I did not really care for this one. Now, I love Winnie the Pooh. I don't care. But I don't like him so much when he looks like the stuffed animal of a serial killer who came to life in a lightning storm on the night of his execution. These things are so ugly, and the Logan color grading really isn't helping. This movie looks gross. The few things I can say I liked are the voice work. Everybody does a pretty great job, and of course you got Brad Garrett to be Eeyore. Perfect. And Ewan McEwan is an interesting presence as always, but he really doesn't have a lot to work with because the story is just so trite and bland. You can pretty much tell what's going to happen from the very first trailer. Yeah, if you saw the trailer and were like, I bet I know exactly how that movie's going to unfold and end, you're right. For an interesting live-action reboot like this, they should have thought of a more interesting setup. Like they had all this time and they couldn't have thought of anything better than, Mayor's dead and he has to put work before his family, but he never learned the lesson. Who still cares about these stories anymore? Like, who's watching this and going, I wonder if he's going to leave it all behind, say goodbye to the job and the kids, and move out to Cabo, say, fuck it, now where's that movie? That's a movie I want to see. If staring at these things doesn't make you want to die, then I guess go ahead and check it out, but personally I found the whole movie to be pretty boring and very ugly. Next!
What's that?
Okay, so I'm gonna breeze through these last few because I don't have much to say about them at all. The Meg! It's a sci-fi movie that went to theaters. That's really the most apt summary I can give it. This whole self-aware wink wink nudge nudge sense of humor that exists in the trailers, that exists only in the trailers. I want to make that very clear. It had no self-awareness, which it kind of had to, considering the central premise of the movie was, what if the bottom of the ocean wasn't the bottom? A+ material right there. It's dumb and goofy, but not in a very entertaining way. Like, this isn't Piranha 3D we're dealing with here. I don't think that kind of movie can really work with Jason Statham's. But if you like Sci-Fi Channel movies, then you'll probably like this, because this is basically just one of those up on the big screen. But if you're like me and you find them boring and insufferable, then you'll probably think the same about this. The biggest benefit this has over those is the increased special effects budget, but even then, there's a few times where that kind of looks like shit too. Skip it. Or see it. You already did. Who cares? Moving on. Next!
Where is my daughter?
Slenderman is the best horror comedy of the year. It's truly a marvelous thing to behold. Sony thought that they could cut out the main hook of a horror movie and just leave all the boring parts and release that to theaters. They thought that would nab them a hit. This thing should have been pushed away to some Walmart bin immediately, but I guess it's not that surprising that it went to theaters, coming from the people who released The Dark Tower.
I kill with my...
There's no reason to watch this. This is at least 5 years past being relevant. If you want to watch an interesting Slenderman thing, just watch the original run of Marble Hornets. It's all on YouTube. There you go. Go binge that or whatever. Alright, let's end this little summer journey in this very, very simmeringly hot room. I feel like I'm dying of dehydration. Please send help.
I love singing and dancing. Hiya, folks!
Do you like hearing the same joke over and over again? I assume you do, because you're watching one of my videos. Boom! Self-burn! But you might also like the Happytime Murders. It's an hour and a half of, oh look, a puppet did a dirty thing, tee-hee. If that sounds like it would get old pretty quick, then this movie is not for you. And that's a shame, because this movie features some really good puppet work and it's directed by Jim Henson's son. So you think it'd at least be pretty decent, but nope. This is a movie you would catch on Comedy Central at midnight and not change the channel because you're too drunk to find the remote. There were a few good jokes that had me laughing, but overall I just found this whole thing really unpleasant. So how about instead of making stuff like this, we just get moving on that Dark Crystal sequel? I know we're getting a prequel series, but that's not enough. I want even more creepy looking puppets, damn it. I'm going to show that video in all of my videos until it haunts everybody's dreams the way it haunts mine. So that's all the movies I've seen since the last video. I did not realize it had been so many, and I am so sorry. We'll be back to the normal episode format with the next episode, and I'm going to be keeping to a consistent upload and shooting schedule the best I can. I can't really guarantee this yet, but I want to be releasing videos every Friday, so we'll see if I can keep to that. So it will go how it's been going, you know, bi-weekly roundup 1 week, Bad Movie Touch next week, and keep alternating between those just so I could have more time to work on the respective shows and stuff. So yeah, that's it. Did you like the new format, guys? And hey, did you like the video? If you did, be sure to leave a like on it down below. That really helps me out. So do comments and shares. Maybe comment down below with a movie you'd like me to check out on one of my shows. Always love getting cool suggestions. Subscribe if you like my stuff and want to see more videos like this. I really appreciate it. Check out my Patreon if you want your name on this end screen and my undying love. And follow me on Twitter if you hate yourself. Got a lot of new videos in the works. Bad Movie Touch next Friday and maybe an update video I don't know yet. Peace! I don't know why I did that. I have to like get up and turn off the camera now, so Bye. Is it paused? Eventually it just goes away. I've been playing this on a loop because I didn't think that the fucking bar would get... God damn it. These things make me angry. I'm talking about Mr. Rogers. It's a sin.